One of the things that I like to use as illustration is mountains. I love mountains. And I don't particularly like having to drive through them, but I do like to look at them. And I named the ministry that I'm a part of with the radio broadcasting and the youth work that I do is Victory Mountain International Christian Ministry. And I think about Caleb when he went to Joshua and said, Joshua, give me my mountain. Well, Joshua said to the tribe of Manasseh, we find this in the 17th chapter of the book of Joshua, he said, the mountain is thine. In other words, this is your inheritance. You have refused to go possess it because there's giants and you're afraid of the giants. But go possess it. The mountain is yours if you want it. But here's the thing about it, is that we have to compare the giant versus the God in which we serve, and which is the greatest, which has more power. Well, we know this in our minds, but do we know it in our heart that we serve a powerful God? And I read in my Bible, 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 4, where he says, the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but they are mighty through the pulling down of strongholds. And of course, this is a spiritual concept. We're talking about strongholds. What are strongholds? These are areas where the enemy has entrenched, and he's holding his territory. And here we know that in the spiritual world, we are held back and we are limited in our ability to gain victory because we put limitations on God, and we've allowed the enemy to entrench to the point where we feel like if there's no possibility that he can ever be routed from his entrenchment. And then we want to fight him with carnal weapons, which are not powerful. But the power is in the Spirit and the presence of God, and our ability to allow God to be big in our eyes. So the question is how big is your God? And so we have to be able to identify our own faith. What is the level of our faith? And sometimes when we just be honest with ourselves, we realize that when we pray, we're not even sure about what we're praying about. In other words, our faith has not reached to that level to where we've defeated the own doubt in our own minds. And then we wonder why there's no victory. Well, because we've not chased the giant yet. We've not routed them out of their strongholds. Well, I'm just thinking about what Jesus said to the man who couldn't cast out the demons out of his son. And they said, well, how come that Jesus could do it, but the disciples couldn't do it? And Jesus said, some things just come out by prayer and fasting. I mean, just really being intense and praying through and just not letting go until you've prayed through. And finding that ability to chase the giants, not through your own power, because the weapons of our warfare, remember we said this, they're not carnal, but they are mighty through the pulling down of strongholds. This is Pastor Jack King with the gospel on the radio broadcast.